Welcome to Chasing Combat. I'll be going over the most underrated prospects in every UFC division. Flyweight, honorable mention. We got Joseph Bopo Morales. He is coming off a 2-fight win streak, I believe. He is a tough winner, beating Alibi, and he did it pretty dominantly. He was coming in as a big underdog. No one thought he was going to win, and he smoked Alibi and even subbed him, beat him in his own game. He subbed him. Alibi is a wrestler, very good striker, but when it comes down to it, he will wrestle. So beating the guy in his own game is very impressive. Being a UFC vet, coming back and showing you definitely have the fight IQ and are showing levels to a lot of these prospects. Did fight Figgy back in 2018, and he couldn't cut it in the UFC back then, but he really has improved his game since then, and he has shown he belongs in the UFC. He has some pretty good striking, pretty good wrestling, and pretty good jiu-jitsu. I do think he is a pretty good contender, and I do think some new blood in that division is definitely really good. You need some good matchups for Joshua Van, Tatsu Taira, Kavanaugh, Roy Val. You gotta keep feeding these guys, a lot of these up and coming guys, because those guys are really gonna put out the fight of the nights or fight of the year type of fights, especially against a guy like Joseph Morales, who's very tough and very good everywhere. He can go against these guys for 3 rounds, 5 rounds, however many rounds. But at the end of the day, I do think Joseph Morales will be a future title contender. Let's go with the actual flyweight contender in Aline Cobra Correa, who I think he has shown so much promise in his last 2 fights, at least with his striking. He does have some solid wrestling, he does have some solid jiu-jitsu, but overall he does strive in the striking. His striking is pretty high level. It is up there with Joshua Van's, just due to him training with Joshua Van. 2-0 in the UFC is a pretty good start. Not many people knew who he was coming into the UFC, but people did know after that first fight. If you didn't know, now you know. He will be in the top 10 by the time he's 5-0 or 6-0 in the UFC, maybe even 5-1, 6-1. I don't think he loses many fights before getting into the top 15. I do think he is going to probably be undefeated in the UFC by the time he gets in the rankings, but I wouldn't be surprised as well if he does get one loss. Got to get that loss out of the way, show you where you need to work on. I do think he will compete for the belt or be a top 5 contender at some point. Bantamweight honorable mention, Santiago Border Boy Luna. Crazy nickname, but hey, respect for having it. 2-0 in the UFC. He has shown some pretty good improvement, at least in his last fight. He didn't get the finish, but overall he showed some pretty good striking, some solid power, some pretty high level BJJ, only for 21. I wouldn't say his BJJ is anything crazy, but it's pretty high level for only being 21, just getting into the UFC. Especially in bantamweight, jiu-jitsu is getting there. I don't think there's many high level BJJ guys in the bantamweight division as of right now. There is a couple good guys in there, but I do think he does do pretty good against a lot of the guys that are coming up right now. Overall, I do think he is a pretty solid prospect. He is going to be a big problem in the future, especially because, like I said, he's only 21. Being 21 in the UFC, he has at least till he's 35 if he wants to. I do think 8-0 at 21, crazy record. I do think he can go up to at least 12-0 before he suffers his first loss. Will he lose before he gets into the rankings? Maybe once or twice. He does need to learn. His chin is a little bit iffy. He does have some good recovery, so if he does get knocked down, he will get up pretty fast. Felipe Jungle Boy Lima, probably one of my favorite prospects in the bantamweight division. He is so good. He is coming off a loss at Peyton Talbot, but he did break his foot again. He has been suffering a lot of injuries, but I do think he will be back and better. He has only shown improvement. He's very, very good. He will chuck the knucks with you, brawl with you, however you want to say it. Pretty good striking, very good technical striking, can brawl with you, like I said. He has some pretty good jiu-jitsu as well and pretty good wrestling. He is pretty fast, but like I said, coming off a loss to Peyton Talbot, where Talbot looked just better everywhere and just way faster. Felipe Lima, I do think will be a problem in the bantamweight division, and I do have him beating Peyton Talbot in a rematch if they were to fight in the future, but that's only if Felipe Lima was to fight another 3 to 4 fights. Then I would call for that rematch, only due to you really need to see Felipe Lima improve after that loss. Just, you got to see something from him. You need to see that he's gonna keep rising up. He's not gonna suffer that loss, lose his confidence, and then he's gonna get kicked out of the UFC, go fight in the PFL or something like that. Featherweight honorable mention. It was very tough to put Nathaniel Wood here in the honorable mention, just because he's so good. 11-3 in the UFC, and he hasn't cracked the rankings, which is just crazy. Very well rounded. He will walk you down. Probably one of the best, if not best, technical strikers in the UFC. He is just so good on the feet. He knows what it takes to win that decision. Overall, he is not afraid to wrestle with you, go to the ground. He has some good sprawls, good wrestling. Overall, his jiu-jitsu hasn't been anything like very noticeable. He does have some pretty good jiu-jitsu. He trains in one of the best gyms in the UK. Trains alongside Loner Kavanagh and a lot of PFL pros. Overall, I do think he has a very good UFC career ahead of him. Even though he is almost 15 fights in, he still has a good solid UFC career. What I mean by that is in the rankings. Going forward, he's only going to get better fights. He's only going to keep getting bonuses. He's only going to keep getting more money. I think he will retire probably 20-5 or 20-7 or something like that. I think he will retire as one of the best featherweights to ever do it. Pretty ironic that Jose Delgado is the actual pick here as the most underrated prospect in that division, especially him coming off a loss to Nathaniel Wood. But I think Delgado shows a lot more promise as in a sense of rankings wise, only because he's getting these KOs and he's having these really good fights, and the UFC's been favoring that a lot more recently, at least, where you're getting a lot more finishes. They're going to put you in the rankings. They're going to push for you to get that top 5 fight or that top 10, top 15 fight. Overall, he has good power in his hands. Didn't knock out Andre Philly, which was a little concerning, but it did seem like Andre Philly just injected a bunch of steroids and somehow his chin got better. But got to give it to Andre Philly. He put in that work, and he did almost beat Jose Delgado. Jose Delgado is only 28. He's still pretty early in his career, only 13 pro fights, so he still has a long way to go. Striking will need to get better in the future, and his wrestling as well. He did struggle a lot in that Andre Philly fight, but Philly is a vet in the UFC. He knows what it takes to win, especially against these upcoming prospects. Delgado is only going to get better, and he needs to get better if he is going to compete in the top 15 and compete against these killers, you could say. Killers / high-level fighters, you could say. Like, a lot of these guys might not, they might get finished easily, but they're in the top 15 for a reason. They know how to win fights against a guy who may be a little more inexperienced compared to them. Weight honorable mention, Fares Ziem, coming off a huge win against Nazim Sadikov, where Nazim Sadikov coming in as a very tough, crazy striker. He can go from being against the fence, the guy putting it on him, coming right back out, putting it right back on that guy. Ziem 8-2 in the UFC. He's only shown that he's gotten better, and he keeps improving massively. He will not tap if you have him in a sub. In one of his previous fights, within one of his last 3 fights, guy had his knee bent the other way, and he still didn't tap. He ended up winning that fight. Very bloody, very back and forth type of fight. But Ziem usually dominates a lot of these guys, makes it bloody. He might get cut up a little bit himself, but overall he is going to be in control, either with his wrestling, his jiu-jitsu, or even the striking if he needs to. All right, lightweight pick. Like I said, pretty ironic that I have Nazim, especially coming off a loss to Fares Ziem, but I like him a little bit more here. Nazim Sadikov, 4-1-1 in the UFC, suffered his first loss to Fares Ziem. Ooh, very good fighter. Sadikov definitely is only going to improve after that loss. I do think Ziem also does need a loss to get to that next level. What I mean by that is to get to that, kind of get that championship mindset. But Sadikov, very entertaining fighter, very tough. He's going to come at you with everything he's got. He's going to go for that finish. He might wrestle with you. He's going to go for that sub as well, though. It's not like he's going to wrestle you and make it a boring fight. If he's going to wrestle you, he's going to go for that finish. Wherever he goes, he's going for that finish. Overall, it doesn't matter how hurt he is going to try to come back, unless it's Fares Ziem, where Fares Ziem just put him out. Welterweight, honorable mention, Joel Alvarez, 8-3, coming off a loss, but the loss is a very good loss. Very high-level wrestler. He is going to go for the KO or submission when he is in there, no matter what. It doesn't matter who he's facing. He's always entertaining. He's always going to go for the finish as well. He is very tough and very hard to put away unless you are a very high level wrestler like his last opponent. Overall, doesn't matter if it's striking, if it's on the ground. He's either doing damage on the ground, going for that sub, or he's on the feet hunting that KO, losing by submission and getting finished. I do think that won't sit very well with him, especially, he's used to finishing guys. He's not used to getting finished himself. He's definitely going to want that one back. Welterweight pick will be Jonathan the Captain McAuliffe, the future champ. He's 3-0 in the UFC, very solid striking, very solid wrestling, BJJ. Overall, I do think he is not a championship level fighter right now or even a top 15 fighter right now. We will have to tell by his next fight. We need to improve every fight and keep improving. I do think he does have that mindset, and I do think he is the type of guy to learn very fast. Caleb definitely has some holes in his game, but overall I do see the potential, and it's these type of guys who are very solid all around, may look like they don't show much promise early in their career, and then they just keep improving, and keep somehow getting those wins. And then next thing you know, they're in the top 5, top 10, fighting for that belt. Middleweight honorable mention, we got Damian the Baby Yaga Pinas. Crazy last name, but overall, Pinas is 1-0 in the UFC. He has crazy KO power. Never gone to decision, which is a crazy stat. 10 fights in his pro career, never gone the distance. I don't even think he's gone past the second round. Overall, he is going to go out there. He is going to look for that KO. He did have a solid takedown defense in his last fight. But overall, he has back-to-back wins with a jab cross, which is kind of crazy. You never really see too many fighters finish fights just with a jab cross. I do think his striking is very good, but overall, it's his BJJ and his wrestling that he will need to work on going in the future if he does want to be a contender. Middleweight pick, Christian CLD Leroy Duncan will be the middleweight prospect. He is 7-2 in the UFC, very high level striking, always going for that KO, and he's never been finished in 16 professional fights. Overall, CLD is going to go out there. He's going to be pretty technical. He might even pressure you. All depends on his game plan for that fight. He's going to look to get in your face, use that jab to set up that nice, nasty right cross. He will also go for a lot of spinning things, either if that's a spinning back fist, spinning elbow, spinning kick, doesn't matter. He will look for that finish. Overall, I do think he's a very underrated prospect. A lot of people have been going against him recently. Overall, I do think Leroy Duncan will be a top 5 fighter in the middleweight division. Light heavyweight, honorable mention, Navajo Sterling. So, Navajo Sterling definitely wasn't the guy I was looking to pick as an underrated prospect. Just due to him only really striking, he has very technical style, just due to him coming over from kickboxing. It was a hard pick to put him in the honorable mention because his wrestling and his takedown defense are almost non-existent just due to him not really showing it off too much. He's shown it off a couple times, but he hasn't really been tested there or even really in the striking. He's been facing a lot of kind of cans, you can say, or low-level fighters. They've been building them up properly, which is a good thing. It's definitely a good thing to build up a guy like Navajo Sterling. Get him that experience, because I believe he came into the UFC at like 4 or 5-0, and you don't want to rush a guy like that. He definitely has a big promise. The real light heavyweight pick will be Bogdan Hitman Guskov. Yes, he is ranked, but here is the thing. I did choose him here just because he is a solid prospect, and he did just get into the rankings, so he hasn't really had his first 100% rankings fight. He was supposed to fight Yan again, which I would have considered that. Only because you get a draw. There should have been a clear winner. Either if that was Guskov or Yan, I wouldn't have been mad with the decision, but there definitely should have been a winner there, but can't be too mad at a draw. I do like how they're trying to run it back, and they're trying to actually get a good result for that fight. I do think Guskov is a very good prospect. He has a lot of power in his hands. If you give him the opportunity, he will snatch up that sub as well. Does have some shaky takedown defense, can be kind of a turtle on his back, but overall I do think he has enough power in his hands to scare his opponents so they're not pressuring him right away and they're giving him the respect he deserves. Guskov, he should be able to power punch his way through the rankings pretty much, and maybe even get himself a title shot. But at the end of the day, you gotta have faith in a guy like Bogdan Guskov to kind of save the division with his power punching, and he's always going out there, and it's not like he's having boring fights. He's always putting on a show, and I do think he's one of the more exciting guys in that division. All right, heavyweight honorable mention. We got Josh Hoke. Yes, he is ranked, but there's not many heavyweight prospects as of right now. I might have to update it when Dana White's Contender Series comes back around within the next, I believe, 3 months. But Josh Hoke, all right, 9-0 as a pro, 3-0 in the UFC. Very tough, always entertaining, pretty funny in the octagon. I'm not really a big fan of him doing his media where he's putting on that persona and, you know, trying to just go at everybody and just say stupid things. I'm not really a big fan of the way he puts himself out there. He can be pretty funny at times. I do think he is pretty funny in the octagon. Whether that's, you know, smacking the guy's ass, dancing around after the finish, giving the guy the finger, or whatever it is. He's pretty funny in the cage, makes the fights very entertaining, and he is a very exciting prospect. The actual heavyweight prospect I have is Mario Pinto. I am choosing Mario Pinto here because he is showing a lot of promise right now. Before, he was just a striker who had a lot of power, who was getting that KO, or he was, you know, getting wrestled. He really improved his game, showed that he can wrestle, he has good BJJ, and he wants to finish every time. Mario Pinto will be my heavyweight prospect. I do think he does have the chance to be a champ. I do think the stars kind of need to align with opponents and who's champ at that time. If you think I messed up with any of my picks in here for prospect-wise, let me know. We'll take constructive criticism. That'll be the end of the video. I will see you guys next week for Song versus Figgy in Shanghai.